Okay, good evening. And on which.
Try that again.
Just go back to the horse. Since like
Testing.
or something. Yeah, let's go with it.
Leave that off.
So just click that on.
What a truth. We are live.
Okay, we apologize for those technical difficulties. We are gathered. We acknowledge that this land that we are gathered on is today is part of the ancestral land of the Chippewa, the Ottawa and Potawatomi peoples, referred to collectively as Anishinaabe. ensure the connection of the Anishinaabe with the spirit of the land, water, and air. That we recognize their unique cultures, traditions, and values. Together as treaty people, we have a shared responsibility to act with respect for the environment that sustains all life, protecting the future of those generations. Council, I would remind you, if you have a pecuniary interest, to please declare it at appropriate time. Clerk, item number 4, delegations. Do we have anything this evening?
No, nothing at this time, your worship.
Okay, and we have no business arising from the previous meetings?
Nothing at this
Okay, council, let's go to item 6.1. I have a motion by Councillor Bob Willett, seconded by Councillor John Van Claveren, that the minutes be adopted by council and those confidential minutes of the closed sessions of council remain confidential, restricted from public disclosure, in accordance with the exceptions provided in the Municipal Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act. It will be our regular council meeting minutes of April the 9th, 2025. Our consideration meeting minutes for the Annette Drain, April the 9th, 2025, as well as the consideration meeting minutes from McCall O'Donnell Drain, April the 9th, 2025. Council, you've had an opportunity to read those minutes and review them. Are there any questions? Hearing none, all those in favor? That is carried. Okay, let's go to item 6.2 on your agenda, moved by Deputy Mayor McEwen, seconded by Councillor Van Claveren. That the minutes be adopted by council with confidential minutes of the closed sessions remain confidential and restricted from public disclosure in accordance with the exemptions provided in the Municipal Freedom of Information Protection of Privacy Act. That would be our Parks and Recreation Committee meeting minutes of February the 20th, 2025. Our Special Events Committee meeting minutes of March the 3rd, 2025, as well as the Wyoming Public Cemetery and Inactive Cemetery Committee minutes 13th, 2025. We have Councillor Vasey here for the Parks, Councillor Bojan, who is on with Special Events, and Councillor Wolvette for the Cemetery. Are there any questions? Hearing none, all those in favor? It's carried. Okay, let's go to item 6.3, council reports. Deputy?
Yes, okay, we'll start with the one with the teeny weeny brain, Mr. Bougen.
It was
You
simple.
messed up that yesterday, did you not?
I didn't say that. I said simple.
Simple.
The only thing I have is just a shout out and a thanks to the Special Events Committee. They hosted their Easter event 2 Saturdays ago now, I guess it was. It was really well attended. The mayor volunteered as well, so thanks to the mayor. And it was a huge success. That was their second time doing that one. So I'm sure it'll be a third next year. And then their next event is Picnic in the Park on June 24th in McKay Park.
It's busy.
Yes,
May 24th.
Oh, okay.
say.
Yeah.
The Easter thing was fantastic. Took the grandkids. I'm sure you found the outfit a little warm, but thank you for.
I'm hopping around.
We had Parks and Rec this month. Both ball clubs were in. They're both registrations are through the roof, so that's very good. Basically just talked about things getting ready to go for the seasons. We have our park tour this Saturday where the group will be going out touring all the parks just to see how they went through the winter and start making a new list to get things caught up.
You're good.
That's all I have to say about that.
Oh, that's interesting. Does not read it. Thank you.
We had a Conservation Authority board meeting. The mayor had asked for a follow-up on the Cattlemen's Association item that I did send out to everybody. So everybody at the board was in favor. The adventure, so they want to basically take over at least 200 acres that belong to the Conservation Authority, probably change it into pasture land. They're hoping to get a quick start, starting get things cleaned up and ready for grass seeding by September. So they did want to start with 200 acres and their goal is to get to 600 acres. Not sure that that'll be possible. There was staff were thinking they didn't want to convert some of the farmland to pasture land. There was going to be a $6,000 annually, $6,000 loss of revenue projected from converting from from cropland to pasture land. So the ask was to go back because they were offering 125 an acre. The ask was to go back to ask for 150 an acre. There was a lot of concern from many of the members about all the municipalities subsidizing anything, right? Because then it opens the door for other people to want to come in and get subsidized for whatever. So we did come up with a few ideas to go back and hopefully that's a positive outcome. Oh, no, I did learn that grasslands are, I think it was 4 times more beneficial than trees. Australians, yeah. For carbon offset and carbon capture. And there are less grasslands in Ontario than there are wetlands. So this is a great opportunity to, obviously there's a lot of benefit to the ecoregion for endangered species and all that rely on grasslands and pasture lands for their survival. So that's greatly beneficial too. So all around, it's very positive. So that's the update on that.
So, yeah, oh, go ahead.
Just a question, if I may, to Councillor Rodriguez, is there any land in Plympton-Wyoming that's going to be affected by that they're looking?
No, so currently all this cropland that the conservation owns is at from the McHugh Dam. So it's down in St. Clair Township's jurisdiction. Because all that land was expropriated when they installed the dam back in the 1980s because it's floodplain for the dam. It's considered like class 4 agricultural land, so it's not very great land to start with. So actually pasture land over cropland, because you take a big risk with cropland if we have flooding from that dam, you could lose everything. And that's been hard on anybody wanting to lease land for crops. And the quality of the soil get yet less yield. So pasture land is actually much more beneficial in that situation where you have that type of floodplain poor soil situation to put it into pasture land because it'll help stop erosion and things like that. So if there is any land in Wyoming that wants to benefit, and, as they expand, because ultimately they have a 10-year plan that they presented well and they do want to grow. And this is the whole point of this is to help provide second income for farmers with livestock. So you get a bunch of different farmers who have 10 or 12 or 20 cattle. They can all pasture and switch areas and not disturb the rain farm. That's kind of the whole purpose of it.
Can you share with us any of those creative thoughts about getting some more money rather than charging for the pasture land?
Well, so there were two both ideas. One was going back and asking for more money.
Yeah.
And the other one was to possibly impose a special levy on the hosting jurisdiction because they will benefit from it.
So we're glad to hear that pasture land will be in St. Clair.
Yeah.
Mr. Woolard.
Thank you. We actually had 2.5 to 3 weeks off this month, a lot of us, so. Cemetery meeting, we had it, getting ready for the tour. in May, and we'll be getting ready for Decoration Day. Attended the rural games, and Nettie was there too, Forest. And farm safety, of course, they've announced now that the international plowing match is going to be held here in 2026. It'd be down around Brigden and quite possibly the Brigden Fairgrounds. That's not final yet, but sounds like that's what's going to happen. Other than that, I had a great 2.5 weeks up at the cabin. I invited my wife up for 3 days to serve me. Other than that, here we are.
You were up there for 2 weeks and your wife only came for 3 days.
Yeah, she was in Toronto doing something else. She don't like the cabin and the outhouse and going for breakfast every morning.
Well, thanks for giving us that information, Mr. McLaren.
Yes, Deputy Mayor, thank you. Well, significant rain events seem to produce significant drainage projects. So over the last number of weeks, the Drainage Department, led by Elizabeth, we had meetings on the following drains: Blue Point, McDonald, Gallatley, Kernahan, O'Donnell, the Ennet Drain, McCole, O'Donnell, Stonehouse, Fieldview Estates, and the Armstrong Drain. And I'm sure there's some others. In addition to that, beyond my scope, the team there are working on various others, and they're in various other states of production there. So there's lots going on in that industry. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, let's hope the rain holds off a little while.
I can't agree with you more.
Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Deputy. The only thing that I can really comment on is to dovetail onto Councillor Bojan, that Easter extravaganza. The team did a fantastic job, and there's kids coming out of everywhere. And every time it seems like they open the floodgates at 11 o'clock, boom, everybody was there. And a great enthusiasm, a great spirit. And we were so fortunate to have the Easter Bunny there all day. So yeah, that's all that I basically have. What about you, Deputy? What have you been doing?
Well, I've attended several things because you weren't able to go. For example, the Birds and Bees, which is the rural, the old fashioned neighbor.
There with Councillor Walvet.
Well, I wasn't with them, no. There, yes. But anyway, and it was a good meal, and a speaker, he was a little long. Lauren Henderson's son, he gave us a long speech, a couple of pages long, about all the history of the birds and the bees and who was here, then, and I recognize a few names even. Oh, well. And yes, then I went to famous 5 foundation speakers put on by Enbridge, which is, they choose a lady to speak, and I thought, oh boy, she was really good. She coaches kids, and she's gone, psychologically helps them too. So she was a very good speaker. And then I went to a doctor appreciation breakfast. Everything I went to, I ate those things. Yeah. And it was good meal. No speeches to listen to either. So I've done pretty well this month. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Okay. Let's go to item 7.1 on the agenda. I have a motion by Councillor Rodriguez, seconded by Councillor Bojan, that the council remuneration claims for March 2025 be approved. Any questions? All those in favor? Carried. Okay, let's get into the fun part, staff reports. Item 8.1, I understand that talking to staff that we'd like to defer this one. Is that correct, Mr. De Silva?
That's correct, Your Worship.
Okay, so we'll just go with deferred on. I guess we need a motion on that, don't I, Claire?
You can just ask them if they're gonna vote on a
Okay,
vote on a deferral. That's what you're voting on.
all right. Councillor Wolvet and Councillor Van Claveren. I need to read the whole thing. Okay, if you don't mind, I'll just read the motion. That the report prepared by Paul De Silva, Director of Public Works, dated April 16th, 2025, regarding the purchase of a Kubota tractor and mowers through Canoe Procurement Group, received and that council approves the purchase of M7 tractor with Vortex flail mowers, cost of $334,553. $0.85 plus HST from South Point Equipment. Since I would ask for a motion, if you're okay for deferral. All those in favor of that? Thank you. Okay, 8.2 Michigan Line Reconstruction Phase 4. A motion by Councilor Rodriguez, seconded by Councilor Bojan, that the report prepared by Paul De Silva, Director of Public Works, dated April 16, 2025, regarding the Michigan Line Reconstruction Phase 4 tender results be received in a tender from Sevcon Paving. The amount of $416,063.91 plus HST be accepted, and that bylaw 43 of 2025 be taken as having been read 3 times, finally passed, and the mayor and clerk be authorized to sign the said bylaw accordingly. Mr. De Silva is here. Are there any questions on that? Councilor Wolbett.
Is Cope Construction still bidding on jobs?
Through your worship,
Renee?
yes, they are. We have received tenders from Coke Construction this year, yes.
Oh, I have.
All those in favor? Carried. Go to 8.3, Canton Park Accessible Washroom and results and recommendation. Moved by Deputy Mayor McEwen, seconded by Councilor Van Claveren, that the report by Paul De Silva, Director of Public Works, dated April 22nd, 2025, regarding the Canton Park Accessible Washroom tender results and recommendation be received, and that the tender submitted by Dixon Construction Limited in the amount of $273,600 plus HST be accepted, and that all budget overages be funded by infrastructure reserves, and that bylaw 42 of 2025 be taken as having been read 3 times, finally passed, and the mayor and clerk be authorized to sign the said bylaw accordingly. Are there any questions on this one? I believe it's gone through parks, is it not, Mr. Vasey?
Yes.
Okay. I have Councilor Rodriguez first, then you, Councilor Vasey.
Thank you. Well, I'm just concerned because we set budgets and we only did that recently, but now we are seeing overages so soon. I'm just wondering on the timing of all this and when we're doing, budgets.
So your question to
Oh,
Mr. De Silva
well,
is,
the timing, because we are going over budget and, we're looking to pull from our reserve and we have set budgets from pulling from reserves. And now I've heard of 2 items now that we want to pull from reserves so soon after a budget, which really we thought we were doing good at 3%, but in real life, maybe we're not.
Mr. De Silva?
Yeah, so through your worship, so timing on the project is going to be this summer. And we had originally suggested that maybe it could be pulled from park reserves, but that would really deplete that account. So the Parks Committee endorsed pulling it from infrastructure reserves. And as you're aware, infrastructure reserves is built by the surpluses of operating and capital budgets from previous years. A lot of those operating budgets would have come from parks. So certainly parks would have contributed to that infrastructure reserve over the years. So this doesn't affect the 3% budget passed per se. It would just dip into that infrastructure.
No, I completely understand that. I'm just saying we're kind of falsely stating that we're setting a 3% budget when really we're talking about possibly of $380,000 for lights in a baseball park and now going over on this, which had those true pictures been stated earlier during budget deliberations, possibly that 3% increase wasn't realistic, if that makes sense. And that's all I have. Thank you. Oh, sorry.
Thank you, comment.
Yeah, just a comment through your worship. I mean, we're over budget, but we didn't estimate that we would be over budget. So everything indicated that we would be within budget. Even the designer was a little bit taken back by how it came in, but with the amount of plan takers and bidders that we received, we know that there's at least value there in the project, right? So it's over what we estimated. We didn't anticipate this, but this is what we got. And we do have a grant that's going towards this project as well. And we wouldn't want to have to give that back.
Thank you. Councillor Basie.
Well, that was just my comment, your worship, that if we don't move forward with this, we're losing 150,000 that we've been pushing off. Right? The budget would have been in 2 years ago if we'd done it then. But because we weren't ready to do it yet, so I was just gonna say that coming out of Parks and Rec reserves is really going to deplete us because there is money sitting there. Part of that reserve is that 150,000 that's showing, so it's only leaves us with about 100. So we would like it to come out of the infrastructure because it will be used for more than just Parks and Rec, public washrooms, so.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Van Claveren.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That was clever to go back to the contractor to see if there was other products or different types of construction to save money. Does that skew the tender process somewhat? Like, if I'm quoting a job, if I quote a job to build something, as a contractor, am I choosing all the products and construction methodology, or is that something that you would provide a contractor with? So if I was going to quote a job and then I came in with the best price, but then the job scope changes a little bit. Like, is that okay?
Yes.
Through your worship, that's a really good question. And the answer is all of the bidders bid an apples to apples project. So all of the items were clearly defined. So they all bid on the exact same thing. So after the fact, once the tenders close, it is a common practice to go back to the low bidder and say, hey, is there any savings if we switch to approved equals? And that's why we kind of laid that out. And the general feeling from the Parks Committee, and Councillor Basie can support this comment, was that if there is an opportunity to save some money, please do, but they don't want to sacrifice on the quality or the aesthetic of the building.
Right. Okay. Very good. That answers my question. Thank you.
Councillor Basie.
Yeah, just on to that, thank you. The one thing we were not in favor of was changing the brick. We want to match the backstop, matchy. Look like crap, you start trying to change it. Other stuff, like say, the washrooms is a simple one. Use our washrooms, you don't have to rent one. Save us $1,500. But the brick was one thing we weren't willing to change, so. Thank you.
Nothing else? Call for the vote. All those in favor? Period. Okay, let's go to item 8.4, Parks and Rec Master Plan Consultant Evaluation and Recommendation. Moved by Councillor Basie, seconded by Councillor Rodriguez, that the report by Paul De Silva, Director of Public Works, dated April 22nd, 2025, regarding the Parks and Recreation Master Plan Consultant Evaluation and Recommendation be received, and that the proposal received by Monteith Brown Planning Consultants in the amount of $65,585 plus HST be accepted, and that bylaw 41 of 2025 be taken as having been read 3 times and finally passed, and the mayor and clerk be authorized to sign the said bylaw accordingly. Before I call for questions, just one from myself, Mr. De Silva, have we used this company before?
Through you, your worship, for planning related matters, we've worked quite a bit with them, but this is our first Parks and Rec master plan. So
Name sounded,
under that, umbrella.
yeah, the name sounded familiar.
They do represent numerous developers in this area as well.
Okay. Any questions? Okay, all those, well, Councillor Wolvett.
There's going to be leftover money from here. Now I see you've got to be discussed how you're going to use this money, value added components to the master plan. Could we value add the washrooms there? To reduce that amount? As part of the master plan, I'm sure the washrooms.
I agree with you.
That would be simple to do and
Should
just
be
moving
quick.
on over, part of the master plan, had to upgrade the washrooms for,
Which
Peter
one's
Silva?
going to jail?
Through your worship, this is being done through the OTFC grant program, so it's very specific to this project. So the funds would have to be spent on master planning items. Unfortunately, we can't use them on the bathroom.
can't master plan the washrooms. Okay, well, that's the answer. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Oh, you're welcome. Counselor Vacy.
Yes, thank you. Reading through it, I think there was some spots where we could enhance, like mapping, like have a student mapping in, because we don't really have a true, stuff like that, that's part of the master plan, but not included. So there is some room for enhancements, so.
Anything further? All right, all those in favor? Point five, motion by Councilor Wilbett, seconded by Councilor Van Claveren. The report prepared by Paul De Silva, Director of Public Works, dated April 16th, 2025, regarding the WWTP SCADA ELC upgrade design, contract administration, and system integration proposal. We received in the proposal from Ramosa Engineering Incorporated in the amount of $304,347.28 plus HST be accepted. That bylaw 44/2025 be taken as have been read 3 times. Finally passed, the mayor and clerk authorized to sign the said bylaw accordingly. I do believe this went through to the environmental committee, did it not, Councilor Bolgen?
It did, yeah, yeah. And the committee looked at it with supporting the recommendation. Mr. Silva can talk more about the technical stuff, but the way the committee saw it was it's either pay almost the same price for Band-Aid fixes or do it properly for a little bit more. And that's kind of what the consensus was.
Any questions on this? Hearing none, all those in favor? Carried. Okay, item 8.6. Moved by Councilor Bolgen, seconded by Councilor Vacy. The report by Paul De Silva, Director of Public Works, and Chandra Sisson, Administrative Assistant, Public Works, dated April 7th, regarding requests for proposal to supply and install playground equipment at Arrowwoods Park and the Blue Point Park be received, and that the proposal submitted by Blue Imp Recreational Equipment in the amount of $134,378.50 net HST be accepted, and that bylaw 40/2025 be taken as having been read 3 times and finally passed, and the mayor and clerk be authorized to sign the said bylaw accordingly. Have we used this company before, Mr. De Silva?
Have your worship.
Any questions? Councilor Bolgen, then Councilor Rodriguez, then Wilbett.
Sure. I'm just gonna confirm with Paul. I know at the Parks and Rec Committee, I brought it up. That the Blue Imp proposal for the one playground had a slide that was only accessible by a really thin rope bridge. So I think Paul is gonna go back and see if there's a way to add stairs so the slide is more accessible. I was just wondering if he was able to do that.
Mr. De Silva?
Through your worship, yes, we were able to do that. I just don't have the updated rendering. I think I'm in the report.
That's good enough for me. Perfect. Thank you.
All right, Councilor Rodriguez.
Thank you. So, I did look up Blue Imp. Happy to see that they're a Canadian company. And I was kind of looking at the costs of, because they have most of their prices listed right online there. So in the cost quoted here, I mean, I'm assuming these are custom design versus what they have listed as standard design for pricing on their website. But in the cost here, is this including installation, all that kind of stuff? So that's what incorporates the total final cost.
De Silva?
Yes, through your worship, it does include installation, fabrication, and the installation of engineered wood fiber underneath the playground structures as well.
Councilor Wilbett?
Okay, I have nothing against this proposal here at all. However, there's been a letter on file for Point View Park for the upgrading of that equipment for several years now. And I think it was last year, Mike, you were able to get the gates and that put in. It was all part of that original request. That equipment out there is outdated by many years. Like I say, there's been a letter on file with the Parks Board for quite some time, so I would like that to be considered in the future. I have nothing against this. This is good stuff, but please take that into consideration in your tour.
Yes, through you, I think that one is the next one or two on the list, on the 10-year plan, if I, off the top of my head, it is one of the ones that we know is old and needs attention,
So next year.
Thank you, sir.
basically, yeah.
Anything further?
Come up with more money.
You saw all the children at Easter.
All those in favor? Carried. Okay, 8.7. Moved by Councillor Wolvett, seconded by Councillor Van Clavering. That the report dated April the 14th, 2025 by Jessica Wilson, Executive Assistant, Public Works, regarding the proposal to amend the Stonehouse Drain Report be received, and that council adopt the engineer's report for the Stonehouse Drain Addendum dated March 4th, 2025, that bylaw 45 of 2025 being a bylaw to amend the bylaw 55 of 2024 be taken as having been read 3 times and finally passed. The mayor and clerk be authorized to sign the said bylaw accordingly. Any questions on that one? Hearing none, call for the vote. All those in favor? Carried. Okay, let's go to item 8.8. Motion by Councillor Van Claveren, seconded by Councillor Wolvett. That the report prepared by Elizabeth Cummings, Drainage and Engineering Coordinator, dated April 22nd, 2025, regarding the Carmichael Drain Maintenance Tender be received. That the tender from Bruce Poland and Sons Trucking Incorporated for $33,876.84, including HST, be accepted, and that bylaw 39 of 2025 be taken as having been read 3 times, that the mayor and clerk be authorized to sign the said bylaw accordingly. Ms. Cummings is with us. Ms. Cummings, question, we've used Mr. Poland's company before, have we not?
Yes, we have.
We're happy with the work. Any questions? Hearing none, all those in favor? We, nothing under 9.1, clerk,
Bylaws? No, your worship.
nothing under correspondence.
Nothing for action required, your worship.
Okay, let's go to 11.1. Moved by Councillor Vaizey, seconded by Councillor Bojan. Correspondence items A to E related to recommended reading, routine approval and information items be received. Be noted as received by the Plympton-Wyoming Council and filed accordingly. We're looking at items A to E. On my left, anything? Councillor Wolvett.
Well, it would bring up C, the Lambton County plowing match announcement there. Also would like to recognize A, the letter to the premier opposing opposition to the Strong Mayor Powers Act. To highlight those 2, either for the council to just acknowledge or I'm not sure what we have to send there. Let me just.
Is that all, Councillor?
Yeah, that's all. Yeah.
Councillor Van Claveren, anything from you?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Probably E, I should highlight, that's happening this weekend. John Knox is a school that is completely self-funded. There's no tax rewards for these fine folk, and that place is a happening, active, producing great results.
Would you be involved with the auction at all?
There's some flake that's.
Hope they give you dinner.
So yes.
All right, Deputy. Okay, Councilor Rodriguez,
Nothing.
Councilor Basie,
Nothing, thank you.
Councilor Bojan.
Nothing further than what's been brought up.
I would like to comment on that plowing match. I believe there has been some few individuals have gone to some of the meetings that they've had already, and I think in the past, most municipalities within the county have always been asked for some contributions one way or another, whether it's personnel or finances, whatever. So I just would caution council that they probably there'll be an ask coming our way for something. So just to be cognizant of that. Councilor Wolbeck, going back to you, did you want that letter to the premier pulled, or just to recognize? I know we got further discussion on something.
So I think just to recognize it because it's a specific request for them to be taken off the list. So I just wanted this council to recognize there are other municipalities having some issues with it, so.
Yes, Deputy. I'm sorry.
Deputy, through your worship, we usually put one resolution about a specific topic, and then when repeated support comes in for it, we don't include that every time, or else we'd have so many. I just want to point out that I have at least 15 from other municipalities with the same. In a week and a half, we've got that many at this time. So while it shows one, there's multiple. I just want to point that out there. Yeah,
Sure.
I just keep. Put them all.
And Mr. Mayor, can I just add to your comment on the international plowing match? There's meetings taking place looking for volunteers. I do have a copy of my code out there of all the kind of volunteers they're looking for. So if you're interested in helping out at that, they're gonna be looking now, because only 2 years away. So if you want to volunteer for something, there's a whole list that you can get involved in. So there'll be meetings for it. So
I think there's one this Friday night. Is there not at the Legion?
I'm not sure
There's
because
3 within the community. I think Florence has one. I think there's one at our Legion. I'm not sure where the other one is. There's
I don't know, because the fish fry is Friday night at the Lions Club, and there's another meeting or meal going on. Was it down at the Egg Building?
no, I think it'd be John Knox, isn't it? Is that Friday or Saturday?
Saturday.
Yeah, okay, and there's another dinner going on here somewhere. Same as the fish fry down at the Egg Building or something. Anyways, there's a list of volunteers, so if you're looking for something, it can be fun. I worked on one down in Petrolia a few years ago, I think it was 91. Boy, it's a lot of fun, get involved. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
No problem. And I would just draw your attention to number B, that there's going to be a project along the 402 this year with some drainage. So if any of our residents mention it to you, you are aware that it's going to be happening. Okay, we'll call for the vote. All those in favor? Carried. Okay, new business, Councilor Wolbeck, anything from you?
No, sir.
Councilor Van Claveren?
Thank you, sir.
Deputy Mayor? Councilor Bojan?
Just one quick question since we're already in May. Are we looking okay for seasonal staff? I know sometimes it's hard to get enough seasonal staff, and I just want to see if we are good.
Mr. De Silva?
Yeah, through your worship, we're fully staffed up for the season, yeah.
Thank you.
Councilor Vacy?
Nothing, your worship.
Councilor Rodriguez?
Yes, thank you. No, I forgot how to do it. I wanted to bring a motion forward for a resolution to be put on the table. And the motion is in regards to the strong mayor powers. So the motion speaks to rejecting strong mayor powers in the town of Plympton-Wyoming, and our deputy. Oh, sorry, not deputy clerk. You said deputy.
And I got criticized.
Just think of deputy CEO, not deputy.
Mind.
It's okay.
Oh, we have to do the motion first.
No, that's okay. I can read it. So you're moving. Kristen, Councilor Rodriguez has asked me to read it. And then there's a seconder. So whereas the government of Ontario announced on April 9th, 2025, that it will extend strong mayor powers to an additional 169 municipalities. And whereas the province only accepted comments on the government's intentions until April 16th, 2025, with the new powers set to begin on May 1st, 2025. And whereas the timeline for feedback from municipal councils was unreasonably short, especially when considering many of the impacted councils generally only meet 1 to 2 times monthly, with the added staff time required to prepare reports and provide more detailed information on the impact of the provincial legislation. And whereas the intent of the legislation is to build more homes faster, the Association of Municipal Managers, Clerks and Treasurers of Ontario, which has been tracking the use of strong mayor powers since they were first introduced in Toronto and Ottawa in 2022, said there is no evidence to suggest this legislation has any impact on the number of housing starts in municipalities that have been granted the powers. And whereas the new powers include the ability to set budgets, veto bylaws, pass bylaws with just 1/3 of their council support, appoint senior civil servants, and solely delegate and oversee the CAO position, which further erodes the lines of an elected official's position and impairs the ability of council to work as a whole on behalf of the community. Now therefore be it resolved that the council for the town of Plympton-Wyoming fully supports the existing electoral process under which the residents duly elected all council members and value a collaborative and council-driven approach to decision-making without impairment on any members of council. And further, that council respects the province's intent, but the imposition of strong mayor powers results in an erosion of the democratic process and further deteriorates the promotion of diversity in municipal representation. And further, the council of the town of Plympton-Wyoming is formally opposed to the use of strong mayor powers and requests that the province repeal strong mayor powers legislation altogether as a matter of upholding the democratic rights of all elected officials. And further, that in the absence of a repeal, the town of Plympton-Wyoming Council requests that the province allow municipalities the option to formally decline as a matter of record with the province.
If I may. I'm sorry. This was being brought forward by myself and Councillor Motion. So I just wanted to make that so he would come down.
Seconder? I'm not gonna write that all out. I'm gonna say it's detached. And if you want to discuss it, or you can follow vote.
If I may add one more statement, this is no reflection on our current mayor. He's done a wonderful job here. We have a wonderful team. It more has to do, and obviously it's clearly stated in there. It's about the legislation. I can say for myself, first term counselor, a little over halfway through, and you're changing the goalposts, and so that's very different.
Councillor Vacy.
Yes, I would ask if, could we defer this for a couple of weeks till we have our training? I'd be more comfortable supporting this or not supporting it, but we have training in 2 weeks. Could we wait and do it then?
Well, the one reason why I rushed to bring it forward is because this legislation takes effect tomorrow. And I think it's important for our community. I think it's important for council, and I think it's important for the staff to know what our position is on this. So there's clarity and expectations are set, and there's no surprises for anybody, and we know how we need to move forward. It's frustrating that we got very little time on this, but there have been many other municipalities, a great number of them. It's been well documented in the news. We have the letter here that was on our agenda as well. I mean, I'm not sure that anything's going to be learned. I think, we might get more information on how complicated all this, but I think it makes it pretty clear that the dynamics are changing. And it's important for everybody to understand going forward, because this comes into place tomorrow. So.
Mr. Vacy.
Well, again, I would say then, it's going into effect tomorrow, where this letter is not going to go anywhere. Why are we doing training in 2 weeks then? If it's already, if we. It makes no sense to me that we're gonna make a decision today. I'm 98% with you, just. There's gotta be more to it, so I'd like to know what the more to it is before I make my decision anyway.
I was just gonna
Good,
clarify,
bad, or indifferent.
just want to clarify, trainings next week. And then the meeting for next
Okay.
council meeting is 2 weeks. Yeah, just want to make sure.
So it's next week is our training.
And then another
So
next council meeting is the week after. Just wanted to make sure that.
that's just me.
Counselor Wolvett.
Yeah, I suspected something that like this was gonna be put on the agenda. I just want to reinforce what Councillor Christian has said there, that this council operates, as far as I'm concerned, the best council I've sat on. And our mayor does a fantastic job, and I just don't see this fitting our mayor. But saying that, we don't know who's going to be sitting in that chair in the future, or what they're going to be like. And we've seen some of that around the municipalities. And so this doesn't concern me here. But this kind of rhetoric nonsense concerns me for the future. Not only for the sitting councillors here, but for the staff. This bothers me big time, that the mayor would have the power to hire or fire the CAO on his own. I mean, we know from history that sometimes mayors and CAOs, sometimes they just don't hit it off. I mean, that's just a fact of life. You can take a look after each election, how many CAOs come and they go. But do you want to get it personalized? Boy, and I don't know why any mayor, it's just my opinion, why any mayor would want this kind of authority to veto bylaws or make decisions over and above his council. Can you imagine the split that could take place in situations like that? Especially if the mayor can make a decision with only 1/3 of his council. Now, I've been reading up on this today. I spent 2 hours going through all this strong mayors thing and reading up on it. There is protectors in there that kind of, I'm thinking the worst, but it's not as bad as I thought, but it's still not good for democracy, in my opinion. So, I support this. However, saying that comes into effect tomorrow, does it not? We never even had an opportunity. There's been a 4-day holiday in April. Where all staff was gone. We had no council meetings. Didn't even have time to debate it. So that's just plain simple wrong. And I did try to have a little bit of a conversation with our MPP, but he was busy at the time, not to blame him, but like everything's kind of hush hush on that end of it. We should have been notified, given a bit of an opportunity to debate it, trained.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what training is gonna do. It's already enacted. I guess maybe they're gonna try to convince us that it's a good thing. I don't know. But anyways, I support this, and the more municipalities that get it out, the better.
Mr. Sabansky.
To clarify the training, it's not from the province. The training is from our integrity commissioner. It's going to help council and the mayor understand their duties and the changes under the legislation. So it's not the province coming in to convince you that it's a good or a bad thing. It's just information to help all of us better understand.
Councilor Van Claver.
I'm in support of this. I can live with the timing either way. It does strike me as odd that they did create such a tight launch and they didn't provide any training, good or bad or ugly. They didn't provide any training. So it's hard not to be suspicious of that approach. But again, the timing, to me, I can live with either way. But I mean, if we decide to vote on it tonight and it's passed, then I don't even know if we need a full-on training. Our gracious mayor maybe
Training is
should.
important because there's so much information there that'll help yourselves and us understand how that information how those powers can be applied, how they can be delegated, how they can work together on them. So I think the training is important. This is so new. I think Aaron and Norma attended an AMCTO meeting today where the ministry was, and the ministry employees had very little to no answers on this. It's an evolving situation. Mr. Mascaron is an expert in the field. He was involved deeply when the larger municipalities got the strong mayor powers. So I think it's good information for us to have, so we all understand the intricacies a little bit better of the legislation.
Could I make a very respectful request that it's presented in layman's terms in about an hour's time? That would be my heart, to jam us full of information for 2 or 3 hours.
For me, your worship.
Yes.
He requested an hour to speak, and the rest is for questions and discussion.
Deputy?
Well, I know that you've indicated that you have no intention of using these strong mayor powers. And if you did, I think you'd probably end up discussing it with us at any rate. However, this is, like being shoved down our throats by the province. They always doing something that we don't like. However, for like the next election, what if we have someone who really likes those powers? And it's scary. So an election may change the present situation, and so these comments are, there's lots of possibilities that the next, not that I don't think you will get in next time. However, what happens if you don't? So it's scary, that's all.
Thank you. Councilor Bolger?
I guess I'll say something since I'm on it. I would just echo, it's not a criticism of our mayor or any sitting mayor. It's an objection to this rooted in principle. Rejecting strong mayor powers, to me, it's about preserving the collaborative democratic process that defines municipal government. That's why I love municipal government, because it is so grassroots and shines a light on democracy, and we're elected to represent our community with one equal voice, one equal vote, and working together to make best decisions for the community. So it's not a criticism of any current mayor, our mayor, or anywhere else. It's just, it disrupts that foundational approach, and it threatens the entire institution that's municipal government. So I have no preference if it's tonight, if it's the next meeting after the information session. I just think there is potential power if all of these municipalities are voicing the same opinion. The province has had a habit of flipping on things before. So maybe there's a way here, if most of these municipalities push back with motions like this, then maybe they do a flip. It doesn't hurt to try. But that's where I'm at with this whole strong mayor's power. And I would also encourage residents who also agree with this to send a message to their MPs.
Okay. So council, we have 2 minutes till the drainage meeting. All right, there's 2 options we have. We can either table this and come back with it, or we can do a vote now. What's your pleasure?
No, I will be done. I don't do much thinking about it during a drainage meeting.
Well, you do have to focus for the drain. Okay, no further questions. I'll call for the vote. All those in favor? So Councillor Van Clavering, you have 2 minutes, then we'll take over. Do you need everybody for this one?
Please.
Okay, okay. We'll come back at our closed session after, folks.
Get out. As you said, not everybody, I was
I'm just tripping.
sitting near the door and say, that's the better.
I'm John Van Claveren, Chair of the Drainage Committee. Hearty welcome to all that are here in chambers with us today. And if there's anyone following online, a welcome to you also. We're looking for a very positive and productive meeting and are genuinely here with open ears, ready to hear your questions and perspectives. Please be aware that this is a formal meeting. We kindly ask everyone to observe appropriate decorum throughout. Kindly set phones on vibrate, turn off. Ready with a question or comment, please raise your hand. Once addressed, state your name and address for the record. There will be time for those that have asked to speak to be given the floor. Encourage quickly and simply articulate your statement. And we have on the agenda 2 consideration meetings tonight. We'll start with the Kernahan-O'Donnell drain. At this point, I'll ask for any declarations of pecuniary interest or conflict of interest at this time. And if there isn't any, we'll just move on. The purpose of this consideration meeting is to discuss technical aspects of the drainage report dated March 26, 2025 for the Kernahan-O'Donnell drain, section 76 report. With a section 76, no physical work is being done. This is to adopt new maintenance schedules. The assessment concerns, if there's any, those will be addressed at the quarter revision, which will be planned and dated at a future time. Allow me to introduce our council and staff personnel present. Our Mayor Gary Atkinson, our Deputy Mayor Nettie McEwen, Councillors Bob Wavette, Kristen Rodriguez, Mike Vasey, and Alex Bojan. Our CAO, Adam Sabansky, Drainage and Engineering Coordinator, Elizabeth Cummings, Drainage Clerk, Jessica Wilson, Director of Public Works, Paul De Silva, and Diane Gould Brown, our Executive Assistants here. Mike Garretts is the engineer on this project, and we'll send the floor over to you, Mike, to describe this particular drain.
Thank you. Through the chair and to the council. So this is a 76 report that was prepared under the Drainage Act per the request of the town of Plympton-Wyoming. As Councillor Van Claveren mentioned, it involves a new plan, maintenance schedules, but not a new grade line or specifications. The old reports are used for the grade line and specifications. There are 10 existing reports on this drain, 10 known existing reports on this drain. The drain was originally constructed under the Fencers and Viewers Act in 1882. And then J.C. Monteith prepared reports in 1948, 1953, 1956. J.A. Monteith prepared reports in 64, 70, 71, 75, 82, 85, and Will Bartlett did a report in 2019. And that's the reason for the Section 76 report. When you go to work on this drain, there's 10 reports. Some of them overlap, some have good specifications, some don't. You have to go through all the reports. You potentially have to go through all the reports. So it's become too much to handle, and we've just put it all into one maintenance schedule. And I'll get into the schedule of maintenance. There's some provisions in it to make it a little bit easier to maintain. The existing conditions of the drain, it's a large drain, it's 12 kilometers long. It's an open ditch with 2.2 kilometers of closed tile. It commences at the Forest Town line and extends in a northwesterly direction to the south boundary at the loss of the front onto Lake Huron. So almost to Oil Heritage Road, 600 meters south of the intersection of Lakeshore and Oil Heritage Road. So it's a long drain. We had a couple meetings. At the second meeting, the report was done. And so we had a meeting with landowners and they had access to it digitally, which is probably why there aren't too many here today. I have had a couple phone calls, mainly about equivalent hectare questions. So I explained it to them, to landowners on the phone. And so the report recommends that a new schedule of assessment for the Kernahan-O'Donnell drain prepared to assess the cost of this report, and that a new report be prepared for schedules of maintenance for the repair of the open and closed drain portions of the drain. The estimated cost is $17,917. And the assessments, because it's a Section 76 report, they're based on equivalent hectares and outlet assessments. And there is no grant on this. Section 76 reports are not eligible for grant. And the report includes a maintenance section. In the maintenance section, we've gone through all the reports to make a culvert maintenance table, which gives you the year the culvert was put in and which specifications to use, and if there was cost sharings in the report, because a lot of old reports don't have that information to tell people how to assess out the the cost sharing. I've also included a open and closed drain maintenance schedule, which only refers to the section of the report to be used. So you'd use that report to maintain it, and then you'd assess it out with this report. And I'm available for any questions.
Any questions from council to Mr. Garrett's? Any written correspondence come in, Jessica? Correspondence is, anybody online? That wants to weigh in? And anybody in chambers here have any questions from the public to our engineer, Mr. Garrett's, on this particular drain? Okay. You did a great job explaining, it seems.
I know, I think we had 2 meetings, so the landowners were prepared for it.
Well, good stuff. Well, I have a motion here, that a motion, pardon me, signed by Bob Wolvet and seconded by Councillor Mike Vasey, that the report by Mike Garrett's, engineer of M. Garrett's Consulting Incorporated, dated March 26, 2025, regarding the Kernahan O'Donnell drain be adopted as presented, and that provincial bylaw 37 of 2025 be taken as having been read a first and second time, and the mayor and the clerk be authorized to sign the said bylaw accordingly. All in favor? Carried.
Thanks. Have a good night.
Thanks, Michael. Well done. The motion here, also moved by Councillor Bob Wolvet, seconded by Councillor Mike Vasey, that the consideration meeting for the Kernahan O'Donnell drain, section 76 be. All in favor? And that went quite smooth, thankfully, and so we're just gonna hang on till 6:15 because our next consideration meeting is scheduled for that time. We just want to make sure if there's anybody still coming. Yeah. Sure that it's good. It's a couple minutes. attendance here. We're going to get started with the consideration meeting for the McDonald, Gallatley and McDonald drains. If there's any pecuniary interest or conflict of interest, please make that aware of us now, and you can recuse yourself. The explanation of the purpose of this meeting is to discuss the technical aspects of the drainage report dated April 7th, 2025 for the McDonald, Gallatley and McDonald drains. If there are assessment concerns or pricing concerns, these will be addressed at a later meeting called the Court of Revision. Allow me to introduce our council and staff present. Members of council are Mayor Gary Atkinson, Deputy Mayor Nettie McEwen, Councilors Bob Wavette, Kristen Rodriguez, Mike Vasey, Alex Bojan, CAO Adam Sabansky, our Drainage and Engineering Coordinator Elizabeth Cummings, our Drainage Clerk Jessica Wilson, Director of Public Works Paul De Silva, Ann Gould Brown, our Executive Assistant, and the engineer on the project is Josh Warner from R. Dobbin Engineering. And at this time, I'll turn it over to Mr. Warner for an engineer's report, please.
Thank you. Through the chair, I'll give a brief overview of the report and then make myself available for any comments or questions. So the McDonald, Gallatley and McDonald drain report has been prepared under section 78 of the Drainage Act to address erosion, flooding, and culverts along the length of the drainage works. Upon investigation, it was determined the channel is generally undersized. Many of the culverts require replacement, and that significant resloping and clean out is required to properly service the watershed. So if you go to 2 for the channel, it is proposed to have future maintenance specifications for the lower end of the drain. So from the Bonnie Doon Creek or Parker Creek all the way to station 1590. Basically, we've developed future specifications for that section of the drain to be maintained. There was some mention at the informal meeting that the improvements should continue further downstream. It was discussed that the owner of the Kamlaki Golf Course did not want any work on the property and was made aware that there may be increased flood flows. This report will provide the mechanism for future maintenance to take place on that section of the drain. Well, if the landowner requests work on Bonnie Doon Creek, that or if there's a need for work on Bonnie Doon Creek, the request would need to be made to the town. So along the remaining length of the drain, the report proposes the removal of brush and trees on one side of the drain and within the drain cross section, the channel clean out and resloping to 2:1 where required on both sides of the drain. Both sides of the channel will get brushed where specified and where the opposite side is to be resloped. The report proposes a 1 meter buffer strip along the entire length of the drains. Downstream of the 402. So from here to the section I outlined, that's a few kind of will be future specifications. It's proposed to widen the drain to 3.5 meter bottom. And south of the highway to just north of London Line. So approximately this would be the cutoff for those improvements. We're widening the drain or specifying a minimum drain bottom of 2 meters. Upstream, again, it's future specifications. The open channel starts here. And to this point, it'll just be future specifications. It was recently cleaned out under maintenance. So the pedestrian bridges in pink on the drawing. So there's 8 within the Kamlaki Golf Course. And there's 1 just north of London Line, are to remain private and not been maintained by the drainage work. Future specifications have been involved for the culverts not replaced under this report. The culverts to replace, so culvert number 6. Sorry, this is going fast for you.
You are.
Okay, it's a 1 drawing up. Yeah, so culvert number 6 is just north of the 402. Right now, it's an existing 1500 millimeter diameter CSP. It's proposed to be replaced under the report with a concrete box culvert with concrete block end walls. And south of the highway, culverts 9, 10, and 11 are existing concrete box culverts. And they're all in poor condition. They're proposed to be replaced with concrete box culverts again with concrete block end walls. So yeah, 9, 10, 11. The location of 9 is changing slightly to the west. Culverts numbers 13, 16, and 17. So 13 is just north of London line, and 16 and 17 are south of London line, are also proposed to be replaced, but with corrugated steel pipes and riprap end walls. There's the removal of culvert number 12, as well as a future specification for a culvert here. There's a long enclosure from there to the north side of London line. This landowner has requested that a future culvert be considered as part of an overflow channel for potential access to the property. Right now, the property utilizes an easement through the adjacent lands. Part of the report process, a draft report was distributed to all the budding landowners, and individual meetings were held on March 10th and March 11th. Based on feedback from that meeting, another draft report was prepared and submitted to the entire watershed. Meeting was held on April 4th, and no major concerns were brought forward. The total estimated cost for the project is $1,596,000. The report also includes a detailed breakdown of the allowances, assessments, provisions for maintenance, working areas, drawings, and specifications. At this time, I'm available for any comments or questions from landowners or council.
Any questions on the floor? Questions at this time? Any questions on council? Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a couple questions are up first to you, to Mr. Warner. With this project, are there going to be grants available to the farmers in this one?
Yeah, through the chair, there's certainly grants available to the farmers, so it'd be a 1/3 grant for any property that has a farm tax class. So the estimated grant for the project is $436,000.
And my second question, the contractors that you would use on this project, would the same contractor do the whole project when you go out for bidding on that?
Yeah, that's correct. It's similar to a contract that actually is getting completed right now. It would be the bigger excavators and yeah, it would all go to one contractor.
And if I may, one more concluding question, as you're targeting to do it this year?
We're targeting to get it started this year with the expectation that's probably gonna go into next year.
That's all I have, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Racy.
So where you're widening the bottom of the existing drain. And you have to put one of those big box culverts in because it's so wide, who pays for that?
Yeah, through the chair. So it's a drainage cost that gets split between the landowners whose property it's on and upstream properties.
Okay, not all on the one guy.
No, that's correct. Like I said, basically we found that the channel's not of sufficient size to carry the 1 in 5 year storm event, which would be a typical design. So we looked at the option of deepening the whole drain, but then every culvert on the drain would need to get replaced. So we eventually decided to do the widening and assess those costs of the water.
Thank you.
Any further questions on council? Yes, thank you.
So one question. So talking about a 1 in 5 year storm event, has there been any complaints or problems on this stretch during the few 1 in 100 storms we've had a couple of years?
Yeah, through the chair, yeah, certainly there have been complaints of flooding throughout this channel.
So that would continue to happen?
Yeah, I mean, under the 100-year storm event, it'll still flood. The channel's not going to be able to handle that, but it's those more common storm events that it will be able to handle, and it will be able to handle better.
Jessica, I never asked if there's any written correspondence coming in.
No, there was not.
And, Diane, is there any one online that might want to participate?
No one. So
Okay.
fine.
Once again, I'll cast it out to the floor if there's any Any questions or comments? Anyone particular project? Yes, sir. And could you introduce yourself, friend?
I'm Peter Stock and I have a farm right across from Kamlaki Golf Course.
Thank you.
And we experience large lakes. But I was wondering if you've done this kind of work in the past, what's the typical cost to a farmer? Or the work? Like ballpark even.
Yeah, through the chair, it varies very much so. I mean, if you're getting a culvert, you're gonna pay significantly more. Say on your property, we're not proposing any work. We're basically incorporating a buffer strip. So I believe you're getting money back. I'd have to check, but
I'm glad it came.
quickly.
Stop right there.
I don't hear that every day.
No, so yeah, it varies too significantly to
And
generalize.
I would benefit from upstream stuff that I would expect that I'd have to pay a portion of.
No, if you're downstream of the work that's taking place, then you won't pay for a portion of that work.
Mr. Stock, okay. Yes, sir, in the back.
Kind of answering this question, I always forget if, I guess I'm upstream. I never remember if I'm upstream or downstream, but I guess upstream. So we're just outside of Wyoming, so we got, like, I have 2 farms, actually 3 farms that go in it, and each farm is gonna cost a good $20,000.
That's the kind of number I was wondering about.
I think the one was like 22 and whatever, like, it's around that.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes,
I'm
Mr. Reed. Yes, Bill.
I've got 4 farms. There'll be 3 culverts. And upwards of 157,000. I'm hoping the council will debenture it for 30 years.
So I don't think there's any problem with that, Bill. And incidentally, during our meetings of this type, sometimes it can be less than pleasant, but this particular group has been very nice to work with, and there's some big numbers there, so that can trigger some feedback, but there was some real classy and productive meetings that we had, so that I want to commend you on that for sure. Yes, Bill.
It's gotta be done.
Gotta be done.
We need to get rid of our water.
Yes, indeed. And I see the families that are here. I mean, you guys are gonna have generations on those properties, so that's who you're draining for often.
Yeah.
Sure. Well, if there's no further questions, yes, sir.
Just
Your
clear,
name once again.
I'm Jamie Fatima,
Yes, you are.
just I'm kind of on the front of the line. Just clarification on what you had said on the, guess the adjacent property to myself. So I was I'm the actual main laneway coming in, and that would be the one going off to the other side, which is probably right on London line pretty well. The easement coming off the property.
Oh, okay, yes, yeah, so the landowner's looking to get permanent access just for his driveway, right, or on his property.
Yeah.
He's pursuing that with the county right now.
And would that affect cost to myself, I guess, maybe it's?
Nope.
Okay. And then where would you put it, or what would you do with that, I guess?
Yeah, so basically through this report, so where that overflow kind of heads northeasterly, it'll be just downstream of that. And the access culvert will be at the discretion of the county, but right now the assumption is that it'll be east of the ditch.
Okay, and are they closing it in at all, or covering it in, or they're leaving that open still?
No, the McDonald Gladley will stay the same, just within that overflow, there will be
Across that.
a pipe there, yeah, and then in the roadside ditch, he's looking to get a culvert there as well.
Oh, okay, yep, I know what you mean, yep. Thank you.
If there's no further questions or comments, I have a motion here in front of me, moved by Councillor Mike Facey and seconded by Councillor Bob Wolvette, that the report by Josh Warner, engineer of R. Dobbin Engineering Incorporated, dated April 7th, 2025, regarding the McDonald Galatly and McDonald drains be adopted as presented, and that provisional bylaw 38 of 2025 be taken as having been read a first and second time, and the mayor and clerk be authorized to sign the said bylaw accordingly. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Motion here moved by Counselor Mike Vacy, seconded by Counselor Bob Wabet. The consideration meeting for the McDonald Galatly and McDonald drains be adjourned. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you very much. Mr. Mayor, that completes the drainage meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor, Clavering. Council, this time, let's give a 10-minute break and we'll return back. Thank you, everybody, for.
Testing 1, 2, 3, 4. Anybody hear me?
Okay, I have a motion by Councillor Van Claveren, seconded by Councillor Wolvett. Council moves into an in-camera meeting of council pursuant to section 39 of the Municipal Act 2001, amended for the following reasons. Items A and B, personal matters, section 239, bracket 2, bracket B, personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees. And item C, solicitor client privileges, section 239, bracket 2, bracket F, advice subject to solicitor client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose. All those in favor? Carried.
Like, that's to